Okay, let's be honest, the make money online spaces is crawling with grifters and fake gurus trying to sell you on a pipe dream of making money quick, of getting rich quick with some magical course and a bit of coaching that's going to grant you this incredible financial freedom within the next week, month, year, whatever they promise you. And while in reality, there's only one way to make money fast that also doesn't involve massive amounts of either financial risk or risk to you as a person, and also doesn't depend on luck. And that is, for better or worse, that is to work in sales. Look, I've been running Salesman.com now for 10 years, and if I wanted to minimize the risk or vulnerabilities in my life whilst maximizing the amount of money that I could make, then I would choose a sales job every single time. And in this video, I'm going to cover why a sales job is literally zero risk. I'm going to cover all that in a second. But I'm also going to explain the incredible leverage that you have in a sales job to make awesome money and to retire early, to buy the Porsche, to do whatever you want to do financially. So if you want to build your wealth without depending on luck, then this is the no bullshit way to go about doing it. Okay, so if you Google how to make money on the internet, you almost undoubtedly come up with all of these get rich quick schemes. And the problem with all of them, bar none, is to make any money whatsoever, you've got to go from 0 to 1. That is the hardest bit about having value, delivering it to the market, and getting paid on the back of it. And this is immediately why a sales job is just far superior to make money quickly. You gotta think of it like this, right? If you start drop shipping, you've got to find the product or invent the product and do the brand and do all that nonsense. If you start selling online coaching or consulting, again, you gotta find those customers, you gotta build your messaging, you've got to build that brand, you've got to build the infrastructure to get your message out into the marketplace. You've got to do a lot of stuff before what you think is going to be valuable is even validated by the marketplace. And this is completely the opposite if you join a medium to large organization with a B2B product and you're selling on their behalf. They've already developed the product. It already exists. Likely, if they're having any success as a business, and you can judge this multiple ways on the way in, right? So you wouldn't go to interview at a company that is obviously failing. That would be dumb. You want to work at companies that are poised for success or who are already like the market leaders in their space. These individuals, these companies have what's called product market fit. They've got a product that the market goes, yeah, that's all right, I'll have a bit of that. And all you've got to do is get in front of those people and then just facilitate the deal happening, which is dead easy. None of this is rocket science. What they will also give you on day one is your ideal customer persona. They're going to give you the person that they know from the thousands of sales that they've had previously, or the hundreds of very large deals they've had previously. They're going to tell you who is the ICP, the ideal customer persona, who is the person that you should be going prospecting. There's going to be systems in place. You're going to get your commissions paid on time. All HR, payroll, management, onboarding, all of this is going to be set up for you. And so within 30 days, you could be making hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in a B2B sales role. And you just don't have the opportunity to do this yourself if you're trying to start some kind of business. Because how can you compete with, unless you have absolutely mega amounts of specialist knowledge, as in you've been working in industry in general for 40 years and now you want to pivot to a consulting role or something like that? Fine, absolutely. That's probably not you if you're watching this video, right? If you're watching this video, you're probably a 20-year-old, 30-year-old, 35-year-old person who just wants to get on with their life, get work out the way, and B2B sales is absolutely the position to do that from, because all that hard work of starting the business, getting the wheels turning, has all been done for you when you join a company within a B2B sales role. The next biggest advantage to working in a sales role versus trying to start some kind of business is that when you start a business, you end up doing everything. And this is me, right, at Salesman.com. Accounting, marketing, hiring, firing, product development, product research, customer support, you name it, I'm either doing it or I'm managing someone who is doing some of it for the company on our behalf, right? As a small business owner, as a founder, your focus is pointing in all kinds of different directions. And so even though you're working dead hard, you're not actually making any progress really across any of these things. And this is why it takes, in contrary to what all these get rich quick schemes will pitch you, this is why it takes, when you start a business, 5-10 years for most people to make decent money. Whereas, and this is one of the key benefits of B2B sales, right? The opposite of this is essentially B2B sales. you are in a sales role, your focus is singular. That means that all of this energy that as a small business owner you'd be putting into all these different directions is just focused in one line towards success. That means that you as an individual are going to have a big impact on the business that you work for, the marketplace that it provides value to, and so you're going to be compensated and rewarded for that outsized impact. So this means that you have then leverage. You put in some effort and you get outsized results. And you get outsized results because all of your effort is going in one direction. And don't forget, you're not doing the implementation of the product. You're not doing customer success. You're not doing future customer research. You're not doing any of that. You've got the machine behind you doing all that stuff on your behalf. All the machine needs is net new business, new revenue, new customers. So you provide that and you have massive leverage within the organization. And this is why a salesperson could get paid $250,000, $500,000 a year, like with their commissions on top of the base salary, versus some fancy scientist in the same organization with a PhD and they've been in the business for 20 years and they've got all this crazy specialized knowledge. They might only get paid $80,000 to $100,000. And so think of it like this, right? You might get a bigger slice of the pie at the end of the day running a small business, because like for me over at Salesman.com, I think there's 100 shares in the business and I own 100 of them. So I own the business essentially. So I get 100% of the profits. But most people, most of the time, it's going to be much more beneficial to have a tiny slice of $1 billion organization, and you get that because of all this leverage that you have of the entire organization helping you push forward. The next benefit of working in sales rather than trying to start a business or do something on these lines or crypto or whatever the heck it is, the benefit of working in sales is that you have literally, I can't emphasize this enough, right? You have literally zero risk in your career. And that is because there is always, well, undoubtedly always going to be essentially unlimited high-paying sales jobs to move between. As long as you have success in your role, you will have access to unlimited jobs anywhere in the world, in essentially any single market you could possibly imagine. Whatever you're interested in, there is going to be high-paying sales roles in that space, and you get to go, okay, great, I've had success here, I'm moving over there and I want to get started next week. Or maybe you want to have a sabbatical and you take a year off. It doesn't really matter. Hiring managers in the sales space will bend over backwards if you are good at your job to get you into their company and give you whatever you need to get started. We get the inverse of this when we try to start a business. There are legitimate risks to your reputation, your lifestyle, because of the insane hours it takes to get something off the ground, to go from that 0 to 1. And of course, there's risk to your bank balance as well, because you need to fight to do market research, to build an audience, to build a product before you run out of cash, before you can even then get it in front of people and try and get some cash back from them. The most important thing you should take away from this video is that you don't hear about all of the failures of people trying to do all of that because of this bias called survivorship bias. And survivorship bias is basically out of 1,000 people that start a business, 25, I'm making up these numbers, but 25 of them will have a business 3-5 years later, and then one of them will make a couple of million quid. That's the person you hear from though. That's the person who's on podcasts, that's the person that then releases a course on how to start a business, like what their business is. And you see this like cycle of just terrible companies being formed over and over again on the back of this training and knowledge. With the survivorship bias, we basically ignore all of the failures and we only look at the one person who survived. And being quite honest here, again, having run Salesman.com for 10 years now, having seen so many of my competitors just eating the dust year after year. Some of this is just down to luck. Some of it's skill, some of it is just perseverance, some of it is having, good years and saving a bunch of cash and not spending it for then when bad times come, you can survive through it and you go to good times the other side. Some of it though is just absolute luck. You don't really have this in sales. You don't really have survivorship bias in sales. And the interesting thing is that survivorship bias doesn't really exist in sales because the cost of failing is 0. This is why being an entrepreneur is sexy, because you have these massive highs that get massively publicized, and working in a sales job, well, isn't that interesting and it's not that difficult, and plenty of people make way more money in sales than they ever will in their like shitty little online business. But there isn't this hero's journey behind I did this and I quit my job and then I was the one business that survived, and that's what gets attention. That's what people want to listen to. That's the story that inspires, right? The story of, I watched one of Will's videos. I thought, I'm half decent at sales. I'm gonna commit to it. I'm gonna put all this other stuff behind me. I'm gonna commit to sales for the next 5 years. I'm I made 500 grand a year. I banked it all. We had a good turn in the stock market, and then I retired at 45. Obviously, that's not as interesting as a story, right? And so that doesn't get covered by media. It's just not as, even if I was listening to a podcast, that wouldn't be as interesting of a story as the one dude who made 50 million and then retired. But what you gotta remember of all of this, and again, the most important thing to take away from this video is survivorship bias. That was one person out of 5,000 versus this salesperson who retired at 45, now lives a lovely little life with his family, has the nice cars, has whatever he wants or she wants. Well, they were 1 in 10 of salespeople who actually got their head down, did the work, and made the numbers. And that ties in with the final point of the video, right? That most people, not everyone, but most people who get rich basically just consistently make pretty decent money over a short to medium term period of time. And for me personally, my goal with Salesman.com, with working in sales, with everything that came before that, right, was to retire early. And most people, I believe, whether they are in sales, small business owners or whatever it is, they should be racing to the point of retirement, and then they can do whatever the hell they want with their lives. that should be the goal for most people. And being quite frank and open and honest with you here, in hindsight, I would probably be retired right now if I'd stayed in my sales role and then just invested my commissions and lived relatively frugally. Now, obviously, right, Salesman.com is a decent success in the realm of small businesses, and I make probably 4, maybe just under 5 times as much a year now with Salesman.com than I ever made in my best year working in sales. So you can see the profits basically of the business do this and compound over time, which is awesome. But you've also got to consider that I just ate shit for like 5 years when I first started the business, basically earning nothing. And so if you level this out and you just put a consistent B2B, I would do medical devices when I was in sales, if you just put that consistent commissions in the bank and invested it over time, I'd probably be, as 2 or 3 years ago, I'd have probably been better off just working in B2B sales. Now with the compounding effect of running a business over 11 years at this point, I'm now certainly better off doing what I'm doing, but it is by no means get rich quick. And that, having interviewed hundreds and hundreds of small and large business owners, having just spent time with loads of entrepreneurs, both locally and then on different events and stuff that we've done over the years, it is the story. It is almost certainly the story of almost every single successful entrepreneur that you see. Sure, one business might have gone from nothing to $1 gazillion and they've done really well, made a load of money, but they probably run 15 businesses before that all failed, caused friction with relationships, with family, like a lack of stability, just a whole cloud of uncertainty over 5, 10, 15 years before they had success. Whereas you just jump into a B2B sales role, get some training. It could be with us, it could be with anyone. Just get a bit of training so you've got a competitive advantage over everyone else in the market, because very few B2B salespeople treat the profession as essentially a sport. You wouldn't go and expect to be a world-class golfer without some training, without a coach, without probably a mindset coach, and all the other things that come along with it. And if you treat sales as a sport, get some kind of coaching or training, that puts you so far ahead of everyone else in the marketplace that plus the right business, the right product market fit has all been established for you with that big machine working on your behalf behind the scenes to support you, that within 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, that is easily the quickest way to get rich without any risk. And if you enjoyed this video, why not click the video that's on the screen right now and continue making selling simple.